So I wanted to open this video up with a tweet from BR Open Ice from earlier in June. It's a quote from Josh Yohei of Pittsburgh Hockey Now, or as the graphic on the tweet actually says, Jose Yohei. Yeah, that's a really damning spelling mistake if I've ever seen one on behalf of Bleacher Report Open Ice. But this was posted about back in June. We didn't make a video about it because I was like, okay, that's not too surprising, and I don't think I can fill 8 minutes of a commentary video with that topic, but the Penguins in Pittsburgh reportedly will not offer Evgeni Malkin a contract extension, making the 2025-2026 season his last in Pittsburgh, per Josh Yohei. It is the end of an era of one of the best Penguins of all time. Say what you want about the decline in play, about the status of the team, say what you want about value and dollars, but Evgeni Malkin is 39 years old, which is quite remarkable when you consider the fact that players rarely even make it to 39 in the National Hockey League to begin with. Normally, they're either out of the league or retired at this point, but not Gino. Drafted all the way back in 2004 behind the Great Eight, Evgeni Malkin has been a superstar caliber player in the NHL, somebody who was always second to Sidney Crosby, but in the years where Crosby was out, Malkin himself could go out there and produce. He won the Art Ross Trophy twice. He won the Conn Smythe once. He was the Rookie Calder Winner of the Year. He was the Hart Trophy winner one time. He also had the Ted Lindsay in a season. Evgeni Malkin has accomplished everything an NHL player can accomplish, and then some. 39 years old, as we had said, 6'5", 209, a big dude, signed on till the end of this upcoming season, making $6.1 million a year. I remember back in 2022, we were having conversations about Gino. The fact that this guy was signed on in Pittsburgh forever at $9.5 million a year, only for that contract to eventually get renewed for the next 4 seasons. Well, the Penguins have played 3, and they're heading into the final one of this current deal. The past few years has seen a noticeable decline in production out of Gino, but he has been limited by games played samples that don't really allow him to get the highest point totals, as evidenced by his 55 games in 2020, 33 games in 21, 41 games in 22, before jumping back up to 83 points in 82 games in 22-23. He did this at 37 years old. 67 points the next season, and then 50 points in 68 games the most recent campaign. Evgeni Malkin was not a top-line player in Pittsburgh. That honor belonged to the likes of Brian Rust, Ricard Raquel, and Sidney Crosby. Malkin was elsewhere in the lineup, but he still produced at a rate that if you do the math on this, 50 divided by 68 multiplied by 82 would have put him on pace for about 60 points on the year. Not bad, by any means, still a meaningful, contributing NHL player, but it's quite evident based off of Josh Yohei's report that even if Malkin is a 60-point caliber guy, the Penguins are just not going to re-sign him. Which is why we head over to this article on NHLTradeTalk.com, published a few days ago, about how the New York Rangers could eye a trade for an iconic center to pair with Artemi Panarin. This is something that I need to stress at the beginning of reading this article. The source for this discussion is polarizing. But it is the offseason. There's nothing to talk about. We haven't gone into any hypothetical discussions about where Malkin could end up if he even goes somewhere after this season. But with that being said, a new report out of the Hockey Buzz suggests that the New York Rangers are reportedly exploring a major roster upgrade, with sources indicating the team's priority is to bring in a true number 1 center to play alongside of Artemi Panarin. Now, you can scoff at the Hockey Buzz. I certainly did when I read this article, and I'm sure a lot of y'all will too. People can scoff at the Hockey Buzz in the same way they scoff about this YouTube channel whenever it's talked about on Reddit. Oh, I see y'all in our Canucks over there. I understand, though. I understand. Don't worry. I'm not going to get pissed off that people don't like this show. Even if it might not be true, it might not be factual, it still is a fun conversation to have. The report this week is that the Rangers are not looking to trade Artemi Panarin. In fact, their top priority would be to support him and give him a player that could sign an extension alongside of him this season. All signs are pointing to Evgeni Malkin. Now pause just right there, NHLTradeTalk.com, before we continue with this piece. You mean to tell me the New York Rangers just traded for JT Miller earlier this year, a guy who ended up scoring over a point per game with the New York Rangers to end up the season, and a guy who had scored 100 points the year before that. And the idea floating around with the Rangers is, oh, they want to trade for a true number one center. Miller was literally that. You can debate that he is that right now. I get it, you're not going to play him with Panarin, you're going to have Zibanejad and Miller together. I mean, that's kind of the way New York ran things last season. But this guy's coming off of a 70-point in 72-game campaign where the first half of the season was really not great in Vancouver. Not just like production-wise. I mean, 35 points in 40 games is not terrible, but performance-wise, expectations versus reality-wise, JT Miller was not playing like himself to open up 24-25 either. I think a lot of that does have to do with the Elias Pettersson feud. But you're saying this guy can't be a first-line center? Okay, let's just get past the semantics here and dive into the scoop. Despite recent speculation about Artemi Panarin's future in New York, insiders say the Rangers have no intention of moving their star winger. Instead, the focus is on finding him an elite pivot, and Evgeni Malkin, who is entering the final year of his contract with Pittsburgh, fits the bill. Malkin has maintained that he has no desire to play anywhere but in Pittsburgh, but there are also reports the team has told him they aren't bringing him back next season. Wes Crosby of NHL.com writes, after this season, there is a chance Malkin will become the first piece to retire from the Pittsburgh Penguins' decorated era. Neither the Penguins nor Malkin have commented on his decision in the future. GM Kaldubas said, though, I talked to Gino at the end of the year in an exit meeting and then followed up with him. It's the last year of his contract, and it's been a topic of discussion. We'll meet at the international break and at the Olympics, see where Gino's at, and then meet after the year. The Hockey Buzz is reporting that New York is the only destination Malkin would waive for, thanks to the city's deep cultural ties to Russian players and the opportunity to play a top-line role. Whether it is true or not that Malkin wouldn't consider other teams is hard to determine. Anything is possible if he comes to terms of playing somewhere other than Pittsburgh. And whether the Rangers believe he can play up to the level needed to match Panarin's production is a big if. At 39, Malkin is slowing down. So a trade, eh? Malkin would waive to go to New York. Interesting. I'm not sure if I really buy it, but it's still an intriguing discussion to have. The article then concludes at the bottom here that whether a deal materializes before the season or closer to the trade deadline may hinge on the Penguins' playoff outlook. It'll also be determined by how likely it is that Panarin sees his future in New York. If Pittsburgh falls out of contention, or is never in contention, the Rangers could come knocking, throwing an offer out there for a veteran center if they're playoff bound. Pairing Malkin with Panarin could be a key factor in the Rangers' success and convincing Panarin to stick around. Ah yes, the old legendary Russian player finishing off his career in New York, from Pavel Bure over to Evgeni Malkin, and a whole bunch of other guys who haven't even donned the Russian sweater. I mean, you talk about Patrick Kane, Wayne Gretzky, so many guys that have decided to take their talents over to the Big Apple. Will Evgeni Malkin be a part of that list? Can he realistically find himself playing with another National Hockey League team? And could he do so as early as the start of the season? Could he get traded over to New York? I want you to let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about Gino and him reportedly being willing to waive to the Rangers? Does that make sense in your mind? Do you think he can convince Artemi Panarin to stay? I want you to let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. Sign on, and bye.